Hey guys, so I thought I'd record a video of completing this first ISO block and just wanted to go back through this one. So we're going to focus on number one up here. The first thing that we need to do, we've already done this multiple times, but we'll do it again here. We're going to start grabbing by just grabbing a piece of sketch paper and remembering where we're going to put all of our views. So we've got our front view, which in this case is yellow. We're going to have a top view, which in this case is red. And then we have a side view, which is yellow. Okay. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to count all of these blocks. So we've done this one a few times. So this one happens to be 2 inches long. I'm keeping this consistent and keeping a 1 inch gap. And now we're going to count along this space over here. So quite simply, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 quarters is going to equal 1 1/2 inch. And then we're going to go vertically. So again, we already know the gap is going to be 1 inch. This one here, I don't even really have to count, because if this is 1.5 inches, this is going to be 1.5 inches. Right? This is the same width as this, and we're looking at it from the top, so that's going to be 1.5 inches. Now I do need to find out this variable here, so I'm going to count here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 quarters, 1 1/4 inch. And we're going to go ahead and total this. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 3 3/4. Okay, and then we're going to add up the side over here: 2, 3, 4 1/2. So our bounding box for this particular object is going to be 4 1/2 by 3 3/4. Okay, so we've got that worked out. We'll need a little more scrap paper. I'll actually use this little section here to do the scrap, to do the side view when we get there. But the first thing we're going to do is talk about taping down our drawing, or our piece of paper, to our drafting board. So quite simply, I use blue painter's tape because it's very inexpensive, and a roll will last you a long time. So I'm going to grab my blank sheet of paper. Make sure I don't have any eraser crumbs underneath of my clean piece of paper. I'm going to lay this down, and essentially I'm just going to simply bump this right into the edge of my parallel edge. Grab 4 little pieces of tape. You don't need big pieces, and I try to keep them right towards the edge. And again, I'm just going to make sure I'm just lightly brushing that down to make sure that we have it right up against the edge of the parallel edge. Again, kind of smooth that out. Lift this, and what I like to do is just kind of brush it down, make sure it's nice and smooth again. Pin that corner down. Get that tape real nice and smooth. And that last corner down. Okay, perfect. So we've got our paper squared up. I can look at the edge of this, line it up with the edge of my paper. I can see that it's nice and square. And now what I want to do is I want to create my border. So we're going to grab our ruler, or our scale. We're going to line this thing up. We're going to be using the edge that says 16th. I'm going to put this against my parallel edge. Anytime you measure, you want to make sure it's against something square, whether it be this way or vertical. If I rotate this, you'll see that my number actually starts to get skewed. So we're going to keep it up against that parallel edge. I'm going to grab a little mark at 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to put a little mark. And again, guys, I'm going to do this darker on this illustration, or on this demonstration. You guys should be doing these marks really light. In the end, you do want these things to disappear. So come on over to this side. My ruler at a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little mark at 0. Then I'm also, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and measure my verticals. So I'm going to use my triangle. I'm going to slide that against my parallel edge, and I'm going to put my ruler or my scale against that. And again, using that 1/2 inch mark, I'm going to go ahead and mark it 1/2 inch. On the bottom, since we're putting our title block, I'm going to go ahead and mark it 1 inch on this. I'm going to come up to this side. You can see that it's at 8.5, so I'm going to go ahead and just put a little tick mark at 8. That would mean 1/2 of an inch. Same thing would be the same thing as doing that, right? So I could put it on a 1/2 inch up here and measure down to 0. So what I've got now is I've got 1 tick for vertical, 1 tick for a vertical, 1 horizontal for a vertical, and then down here I have 1, 2 for horizontals. And so since I have my triangle on my board, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put these in place. And again, guys, at this point, you should really just still be doing light guidelines. You'll go back and darken in. It becomes really hard to erase dark pencil marks, especially if you're using a sharp pencil tip like I'm using right now. So in order to get this pencil and this line exactly on that tick mark, the best thing to do is to put your pencil up against the tick mark first, take your triangle, put it against your parallel edge, slide your triangle until it just taps the edge of your pencil tip. And now I know that this is in the right spot. And again, guys, I'm going to go a little bit dark because I want to make sure that you guys can see it on camera. You guys should maintain these being extremely light lines at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring that down. Same thing's going to apply over here. Pencil against or pencil on the mark. And my triangle, just tap it into my pencil. And you want to get into the habit of just doing one nice, consistent, pressured line. And now, let me go ahead and do my horizontals. So, same sort of principle is going to apply. Put my pencil tip on the mark. Slide the parallel edge down till it just taps my pencil. Hold that where it is. And I'm going to go ahead and just make my nice, consistent mark. Same thing's going to apply. I'm going to bring my pencil tip down to my mark. The parallel edge down to my pencil tip. Take a nice mark. One more. Pencil tip down, parallel edge in. Nice line applied. Okay. So we have our title block. What you guys would do would come back in here, make sure that you erase out these corners, and then you would actually come back in and retrace your lines, make them a little bit bolder. I'm not going to do that just because mine are already kind of bold. You guys can make them a little bit bolder, so on and so forth. But there we go. So our next task is we use this sheet here to get our bounding box. So we know our bounding box needs to be 4.5 inches wide by 3 3/4. And what I need to do is I need to center that bounding box directly in the middle of my drawing space. And my drawing space is defined by the white open space of my sheet of paper here. So I need to locate the dead center of this clean opening, this drawing space. I'm going to go ahead and I can use a triangle. I can use a ruler if I have one long enough. I can kind of use whatever straight edge I want. What I'm going to do again, good practice. Put your pencil tip where you want it. Tap the drafting tool into it. Don't push it. Don't slam it. Don't karate chop your pencil tip. This creates a pivot point then, and I'm going to basically pivot it until I get lined up here. So let's just do that again. Pencil tip here. Push the tool into it. And then I'm just going to rotate this until I look like I'm in the right spot. And I'm just going to double check that my pencil will actually fit there. Double check it. And then what I'm going to do here is just draw a nice little section of my X right in the middle. I'm going to cross it up the other way. I'm going to actually use the top side this time. I put my pencil in there. Tap my tool into it. Slid that to line up with that point. And you can see here, I really only got to make that little teeny X because all I'm trying to find was that little dot. I'm just trying to find dead center of that paper. Where those two intersect, I know where dead center is. So my next step now, going back to this, basically need to make a box that's 4.5 inches wide at 3 3/4 inch tall. So I got to split this number in half. So the way that I do this, I always treat the fractions the same. Just looking for a scrap piece of paper real quick. So I'm going to just take these dimensions. So I'm going to take 4.5. And this applies to any sort of fraction that you're trying to split. Treat them separately. Split this and then split this. And you're going to end up with 2.25 in each direction. This one's going to be a little more complex. I'll jump back into that in just a moment. So know how far my lines need to be. They need to be 2.25 inches apart. So what I'm going to do again, bring my parallel edge back down, make sure I have my ruler side up. I'm going to find 2.25 on the ruler or scale, and I'm going to basically just use my parallel edge and slide that up against that dot, the center dot that we just created with that X. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of hold down my scale with my fingers. I'm going to put a mark at 0. And I'm going to put a mark at 4.5 inches. And what I've done now is I've kind of just marked out the left and right side of my bounding box. While I'm here, I can go ahead and just draw in those lines. Again, pencil tip on the mark, tool against the parallel edge, tool just into the pencil tip. And again, guys, I'm going a little bit heavy on all of my marks so that you guys can see them. You guys are going to go extremely light. And I'm going to go ahead and draw in this other one. Now I need to get my 2 horizontal lines. And again, kind of going back to this, I know that my box needs to be 3 3/4 inches tall in this direction, and we figured that out here. So I need to take 3 3/4 and split it in half. So again, I take the 2 numbers and I separate them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to split this in half. That's going to equal 1.5 inches. I'm going to split this in half, and quite simply, you just double the denominator. I'm going to come to 3/8, and now I just need to add up 1 1/2 and 3/8. So you've got to pull these to common denominators. This is going to be 1 4/8 plus 3/8. We're going to add that up. That's going to equal 1 7/8. Okay. So again, just taking the denominator, doubling it, come to 3/8. 3, split 3 in half. That becomes 1 1/2. Now we got to add these. We got to make it a common denominator, so it's 1 4/8 plus 3/8, so it comes to 1 7/8. All right, so again, we want to make sure that we're measuring. We're not doing this, right? We don't want to measure and say, okay, well, I'm going to draw a line that's 1 7/8. Well, it's not straight, so it's not going to measure right. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to combine some things. So just like we did this, we ensured it was horizontal. We're going to slide this down against our parallel edge. We're going to put our ruler up against our triangle. And now this we can slide in. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of get it there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this up. And I'm sliding this. So what I'm doing is I'm using this for horizontal. I'm using this for vertical. And I'm using this just like I was using this. Right? So here we go. I need to put that at 1 7/8. That is, just so you know, it's 2 small ticks below the 2-inch mark. So I'm going to go ahead and put a mark at 0. And I'm going to go ahead and put a mark at 3 3/4. Okay, so I have my mark at 1, or my mark at 0 rather, and my mark at 3 3/4. Now I have these 2 lines, or these 2 tick marks. Again, I'm going to use my parallel edge. I'm being careful to lift this a little bit and getting it over the edge of the tape. Pencil on the mark, tool into my pencil, so I just slid down that tool. What's nice is that these parallel edges shouldn't move on you. You should just be able to kind of hold it down, and if you recheck it, you'll see that my pencil's still on that mark. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw this line across there, pencil on the mark, tool into the pencil. Nice horizontal line. Now I can actually come in here and clean this up. I'm going to get rid of this X. Really important to get rid of this at this point because I don't want you guys to get confused and think that you need that again. That piece is now gone. You'll never use that again for this particular drawing. Now we're ready to start our front view. So we're going to start our front view. We're going to move to our side. We're going to move to our top. So I'm going to utilize this here little piece of paper to help me draw in the front view. So I know the front view. Just kind of get this back up on screen for you a little bit. So I know my front view is this yellow side. So it's simply an L shape. And if I come through and count out all of these sizes, we already know that this is 2. We already know that this is 1 1/4. What we need to find out is what this is and what this is. The rest we can close in. So simply, I'm just going to count this. And we're going to go 1, 2, which is the same as 1, 2. So I know that that's going to be 1/2 of an inch because it's 2/4. Same thing's going to apply here. I'm going to count 1, 2. So I know that this is also going to be 1/2 of an inch. Okay, so I have my front view. We're going to go ahead and get that drawn in on this sheet. And then we're going to come back. We're going to do the front view. We're going to do top view. So first thing I need to do, I don't really need this to help me measure horizontally. I don't need it because I already have a line. If I want, I can use it. Doesn't really make a difference. Or I can hold my ruler directly on that line. Either one's going to get me the same result. I'm so used to using it, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. So I roll it up to my bottom line. I put my 0 on that first vertical line, and now I'm going to put a little mark at 2 inches. Okay. And what we're doing is we're using that corner as this corner. So this corner here, where those 2 lines intersect of my bounding box, is going to be that corner there. So I just marked here, which gives me this line. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mark how high this is. And we can look back at this measurement. It's 1 1/4. Again, you can combine on verticals. I got to be honest with you, I get a little lazy and I just use the line that's already there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line this up on 0. And I'm going to put a mark at 1 1/4 of an inch. So I have a little tick mark here and a little tick mark here. Now what I'm going to do is pencil down on that tick, on that little measurement mark. Parallel edge, slightly tap into my pencil, and I'm just going to come across here with a horizontal line. That becomes a guideline to start establishing my shape. All right. And likewise, I'm going to simply just draw this vertical in here. I'm just going to tap this over. Oh, I'm going to go actually full height of my drawing. I'm going to tap that here, and I'm just going to kind of go like this. Okay. So this little spot right here is my front view. And looking back at our little sketch here, the only thing that I have left to do is I got to go come 1/2 inch in. So let's go ahead, and I'm basically going to draw this line right here. So let's do that now. I'm going to take my scale, put it on that line. Again, I could be using my parallel edge if I wanted to. I don't really think it's necessary for this. I'm going to put a little mark right there. That's at 0. That's at 1/2 inch. This is going to allow me to draw that vertical line. Okay. And then I'm going to do I need to get this line in here. So I can tell that that's a 1/2 inch off that baseline. Again, I'm going to just slide the ruler up, or the parallel edge up out of the way. I'm going to use an arbitrary whole inch. It doesn't really make that big of a difference. In this case, I'm just using 8. I'm lining it up, and I just need it to be a 1/2 inch. So I'm literally going from 8 to 8 1/2. Just pretend that that's a 0. I'm going to put a little tick mark there. You guys can probably guess. I'm going to bring my parallel edge down. Pencil tip against my tick mark. Parallel edge against my pencil. Horizontal line across. And we actually have our shape there. Now's the point where we'd actually want to go ahead and darken that in. We're certain that that's our shape. I've double checked. I've verified the dimensions. I'm ready to actually make this a solid drawing. So what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my triangle again. And what I'm going to do, just to make this a little bit easier on the eyes, I'm going to go ahead and lighten this up. This should already be super light on your guys' drawing, so you should not need to do this. Because, again, I'm trying to darken it up a little bit for camera. I'm going to come in here and lighten this up a little bit, and then you'll see what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to bring my pencil where I want it. I want it in that corner. Slide my drafting, my triangle into it. And I'm going to do a nice, bold vertical line. Slide it over. Nice, bold vertical line. And you'll see I'm being very careful not to overshoot past my guidelines. I want to make sure that I'm getting them right at the right dimensions. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pencil on my mark. Parallel edge where it belongs. Pencil on my mark. Slide the parallel edge in. Last but not least, parallel edge. And what you have now is that completed side view. That should look nice and bold to you on screen. Hopefully the other stuff around it is not too distracting. There's our front view. So some of the things that happened here, just inherently, when we drew these verticals, you can kind of see this guideline up here and this guideline. So what's really nice is that when we go to actually draw this top view, it's not going to be nearly as much work because we already have some of the stuff there, right? We already have this line. That line's already here. And if you look here, that line's already there. So I'm going to put a little line here. That's this line. I'm going to put a little line here. That's this line. And then I need to kind of dissect what this is going to look like. And I can look at it and go, well, that corner's that corner. Okay? So what happens with the shape? The shape comes down. All right? So it comes down. Then I go back up to that corner, and that corner goes all the way back in. What's hard to tell is that corner is this corner. That corner is also this corner because it's directly over top of each other. I'm going to go ahead and drop in that line there. So I'm kind of darkening in what this top view is going to look like. Again, guys, these don't have to be accurate, right? We're going to put dimensions on here to really make sure that these are what they should be. So we're going to bring that back across. We're going to bring this horizontally. And we should be in good shape. What's kind of cool is I already know what this dimension is. And I know that because that is the same as that. I know that's going to be 2 inches. What else do I know? I know that that's 1/2 inch. So if that's 1/2 inch, this is got to be 1/2 inch. Right? Now this one here, this is only 1 cube or one block. I know that over here, this is going to be 1/4 from there to there. I know from here, it's going to be 1/4. To be honest with you, I don't really care what this is because whatever this is basically going to be this minus this and this. So it's actually going to be 1. We can count that and confirm that. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's hard to see it, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to be 1 inch. We're going to proceed here, over here, and count that out. That's going to be 2 blocks, which is going to be equal to 1/2 inch. Same is going to apply down there. And the only thing we're missing here is how deep this gap is. And this gap shoots in, and it shoots in all but, and I can count it this way, 1, 2. So I know the gap between here and here is going to be 1/2 inch. And you can put little dimensions on here. As long as you understand this and know that you're going to be translating this information to this view, it just needs to be good enough for you. So let's push this out of the way and let's go ahead and start getting this thing mapped out. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure I get my height here. And I can see here that my height from here to here is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to grab my ruler. And I'm just going to put it at a round number. I'm going to use 10. And I'm going to make sure that that's lined up with my pencil tip there. I'm making sure that my ruler is lined up with all my vertical lines. And basically I'm going to come 1.5 inches off. I'm going to put a little tick mark there. I have a little mark right there. My pencil tip on the mark, slide the parallel edge into it, and I'm just going to project this right here because I know it's not going to be any wider than that. And you can instantly see we've already created like that shape. So we're actually like halfway there already. We're going to do these 2 little ones, which are these little 1/4 inch which is this little line right here, this little line right here. And you can see I don't really have to overshoot it that far. It's really not that big of a deal. So again, I'm going to line this back up. I'm going to use 10 again. I'm going to bring it up here, line up 10, make sure that my ruler is nice and vertical. And I'm going to put a little mark at 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to come off the bottom here. It's at, and again, I can slide it down to 10. It doesn't really make a difference. As long as you know what you're doing for measurements. I'm going to measure up 1/4 of an inch. And I have that little teeny mark right there. And I have that little teeny mark right there. To be honest with you, I'm fairly confident that I know that we have this line. We have this line. We have this line. We have this line. We have this, and we have this. So if we're confident we have all of those, we can actually darken these in without fear of messing up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and what we always do, put my pencil on my mark, slide my drafting tool into it. I'm going to go ahead and cut that line in. Put that line in. And then I'm going to come in and do a couple horizontals. And you'll see then we're 75% done. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that one, slide my, and I'm going to come to that little 1/4 inch mark. Now this one here, I want you to be cautious of. You're only going from here to here. So you don't go, I don't want you to go too crazy on this one. So we're just going to go from here to here, darken that in. Same thing is going to apply here. Then lastly, I'm going to bring it down to this little piece. And you can see here, we've got the top line, the side, the bottom, this vertical, and these 2 horizontals. The only thing we're missing is this little cutout, which we're getting ready to do. So we know it's coming down 1/2 inch, we know it's coming up 1/2 inch, and we know it's 1/2 inch away. So seems like we're going to have to be in the mood to cut 1/2 inch marks. So I'm just going to put it on a random whole number, which in this case I'm going to put 4. And I'm going to put a mark at 1/2 inch. Try to do that a little bit better. Okay. And then I'm going to come off this bottom. And again, I'm going to kind of rotate it this way because I think you guys can see this angle better. I'll put my pencil tip here, line up my pen, make sure that I'm lined up vertically. I'm going to put a little mark at 1/2 inch. Come down here. I can see that it's at this mark, so I'm just going to come up 1/2 inch. And you'll see now I have this line, this one, and that one. So as goofy as it is, it's really just playing connect the dots, right? So I'm just going to do this lightly for now because I need a guideline across here because I need to know where to stop these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now come in here. Again, pencil on my mark first. And I'm just going to bring that line nice and bold all the way back to that stopping point. Same thing's going to happen here. I got a couple more little things here to do, and we're done. I want to darken up this little vertical, darken up this vertical, darken up this vertical, and this view is now done. So I'm bringing that there, bring that there, bring that there, and then what I can do is I can come in here, and in your guys' case, again, you guys should have had very, very light projection lines. Mine are obviously going to be a lot darker, which in turn means mine's going to be a lot sloppier, but that's okay. All right, so far it looks like we're making good progress. We've got a front view, a top view, and now we're going to work on the side view. So our last view is going to be this green view. And we're going to go ahead and kind of sketch it out here. And so I'm just going to say that, you know, it's going to hold this shape. It's kind of this rectangular shape. And we can see a couple things. This corner right here is this corner. And we can see it goes over to 2. So we can go, oh, it's going to be a little square. I see what's happening. And if you look, that's going to be in the same line as that. So it's a little square. Other corner. This corner is this corner. Again, it's just going to be a little square. And now I got to do a little more stuff here, right? Oh, there's a line back here, but that line is in the same spot as that. So it's really going to look like that. This line, and this line would all be in the same plane if we were looking at it dead straight on. So now I've got to deal with this little the ears. I don't know what we want to call them, but let's just call them ears. And we can kind of see that they're just going to simply do, and I can erase this out on my sketch and clean the sketch up a little bit. And I think that looks pretty good. It's going to be our front view. Simply, we're just transferring a lot of the information that we did before. We know that this is 1/4 of an inch, so we know that's 1/4, 1/4, and I mean, there's really not much else. I could do the rest of this by memory. 1/2 inch. We know that this is 1/2 inch in. We know that the center is going to be 1/2 inch because it's 1.5 inches, minus 1/2, minus 1/2. It's got to equal 1/2. The only dimension that we're missing is how far down this steps, because we haven't dealt with that yet. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to say that, oh yeah, that's 1/4 of an inch also. So that little line right there is 1/4. All right. So what's kind of cool about the using the drafting boards, more views you have, the quicker these things kind of come together. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this one in, and you'll see how quickly this one happens, and I'll kind of narrate myself through this. But looking at this sketch, I want to come over 1/2 inch, I want to come over 1/2 inch, come over 1/2 inch, come over 1/2 inch is really what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to line it up at 0. Line it up at 1.5 inches. I'm going to put a mark at 0, put a mark at 1, 1/2 inch, a mark at 1. Okay, so let me repeat that. I'm lining it up at 1.5 inches. I'm putting a tick mark at 0, 1/2, 1 inch. That gives us our 3 little boxes. You can, hopefully at this point you can see this thing is going to extend up, then these are going to be those 3 little boxes right here. So I'm actually at a point now where I can already start to kind of semi-complete some of these lines. So you just have to be cautious because you don't want to put any dark lines that don't belong. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on my mark, slide that in. And this one I know is going to go from that line to that line. This one over here, I'm going to darken this one in. It's going to go dark from here to there. So I know that those 2 are solid. I'm done with those 2. What else is cool is I know that these are going to be solid from here to here and here to here. So while I'm here with the proper drafting tool, I'm going to go ahead and darken that one in. Darken that one in. Bring my horizontal in. So as you can see, the only thing we're missing are those little ears and that one little horizontal. So we're really, really close at this point. We're going to go ahead and measure. We know what these sizes are. 1/4 inch in, 1/4 inch in from here, 1/4 inch in from here, and 1/4 inch down. So there we go. Little tick mark. Come over here, little tick mark. And while I'm here measuring, just because I don't want to continue to have to pick up different drafting tools, I'm just going to put a little tick mark right there. And it's very small. You can barely see that one. I can see it. I'll go ahead and draw in a very, very light line. And again, guys, just remember that these are light, and then you're going to come back in and darken them in. So a couple more things here. I'm going to do 2 verticals. Grab my triangle. Again, put the pencil where it needs to be. Slide in the triangle. This one here I can actually darken in because I know exactly where it's going to go. Same thing's happening here. Darken it up. Now I'm going to drop back in with my horizontal. Little teeny horizontal. Little teeny horizontal. At this point, we'll go through, clean up all of my marks, smudges, eraser, whatever you have that's on here other than your drawing. You want to try to lighten them up or make them disappear as best as you absolutely can. I'm just going to kind of lighten all of this stuff up so that when I reveal it, you guys will see it looks pretty good. This isn't obviously the best work because I'm having to do things a lot darker, but you guys get the point. Normally I have a drafting brush so you don't use your hand. If you have a Swifter sweeper thing, one of those dust things, they work great. But anyways, there it is. There's the drawing. So we got our front, our top, our side. What we're going to do next is we're going to start allocating this area here to be our axonometric drawing. That's going to happen in this corner. I'll do that in a separate video. And then lastly, we will go back in and we will actually put in some vertical lines for our title block down here, and we will fill in information in our title block. And that's it. All right, guys. Hope that helps.